CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I've noticed that these kinds of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might even make the experience a little creepier. So, tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I ordered a mystery box from the dark web. I think Annabel doll is inside. Yo, what I'm about to tell you sounds fake. Like straight out of one of those clickbait YouTube horror channels where the thumbnail is always some dude screaming at a haunted doll in his room. But I swear on everything, this actually happened. I'm not the kind of guy who believes in ghosts or demons or whatever. I'm just a regular dude from Philly who got way too bored during winter break and did something real stupid. It all started about 5 months ago, right before Christmas. I'm 19, living at home while doing online classes at Temple University. My parents were out of town visiting my aunt in Michigan, and I had the whole house to myself for like 2 weeks. I was just chilling, binging random true crime on YouTube, scrolling TikTok until 3 a.m. and ordering way too much Uber Eats. You know, regular lazy break vibes. Then, one night, I got deep into this weird part of YouTube. You know how it is. 1 second you're watching a mukbang, the next you're 45 minutes into a documentary about people buying cursed mystery boxes from the dark web. It started with this one guy. I think his name was Crypto Curse or something. He unboxed this creepy doll with human teeth, and the whole time I'm watching like, bro, this is so fake, come on. But then I saw a clip from another video where someone pulled out a bloody Polaroid from their box with GPS coordinates on the back. And yeah, I won't lie, I got way too curious. So naturally, I did what any reasonable person would do. I started Googling how to access the dark web. Let me pause real quick and say this. I'm not some tech genius or hacker or whatever. I literally had no idea what I was doing. But after watching a few tutorials, I downloaded Tor, got a burner email, made a Monero wallet, and found this sketchy looking market called Necropolis Hub. It wasn't just a site for boxes either. They had pages full of ritual items, haunted VHS tapes, and even entity adoption services. Whatever that means. But the box that caught my eye was listed under a section called Spirit-Bound Objects. It was titled Mystery Box, Origin Unknown, Recovered from Connecticut Asylum Fire, 1973. The description was just 3 words, handle with prayer. It cost 0.019 Bitcoin, which was like $850 at the time. Way more than I should have spent, but I had just gotten some money from my part-time gig, and I was bored and dumb enough to go through with it. I clicked Buy Now, filled in the P.O. box I had rented out last summer for eBay flipping, and hit confirm. That's when the site glitched out and just went black. For a solid 5 minutes, I thought I got scammed. But then my Monero wallet pinged with a confirmation. No tracking number, no delivery date, nothing. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was scared, but because I was excited. Like, what if I actually got something insane? I even thought of filming it and starting a channel like those YouTubers. Dumb, I know. 3 days later, it arrived. I almost didn't notice it. The box was just sitting there on the concrete floor of my P.O. locker like it had been dropped without a sound. No label, no return address, just a plain black cube wrapped in twine with red wax sealing the knot. And when I picked it up, dude, it was cold. Like unnaturally cold, even for December in Philly. It was heavier than it looked, and it made this soft, shifting noise when I moved it, like something fragile inside was rolling around. I brought it home and put it on the kitchen table. For a good 30 minutes, I just stared at it. My stomach was doing flips. I started recording with my phone, but something about it felt off. Like this wasn't something I wanted to mess around with on TikTok Live. I grabbed a knife and slowly cut the twine. As soon as the last strand snapped, the wax fell apart into dust. I opened the box, and the smell hit me first. It was this thick, musty odor, like mold and burned hair, like something pulled out of a house fire and never cleaned. I gagged, legit. But I kept going, because deep down, I already knew what was inside. The first thing I saw was a layer of old newspaper clippings, all dated from the 1970s. Every single headline was about a girl named Annabel Lee Morton. Headlines like, 9-year-old girl found dead in burned wing of St. Agatha's Asylum. Patient claims the doll made her do it. Staff vanishes after alleged possession incident. I'll post pictures later if this thread doesn't get taken down. Underneath the papers was the doll. She looked like the Annabel from the movie, but way more messed up. Her eyes weren't glass. They were these cloudy yellow marbles, cracked and sunken into her face. Her dress was scorched, and one side of her head looked melted, like plastic that had been too close to a fire. But the creepiest part, her arms were bound together with a rosary, and around her neck was a dog tag, a real metal military-style dog tag that said, "Property of Unit 731. Do not unseal. Return to Black Hollow." I had no idea what that meant, but I knew it wasn't normal. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to keep it in the house anymore. But then I saw something else in the box. A phone. Like an old school flip phone, Nokia style. Burnt on the edges. The screen lit up on its own when I touched it. It showed just one message. Midnight. Watch her. So now I'm sitting here, writing this on my laptop, with the doll on the table in front of me. It's 11:48 p.m. My house is quiet. Too quiet. Like, no outside wind, no neighbors, not even my fridge is humming. I don't know if I should wait and see what happens, or get rid of her. I tried throwing her out earlier, but every time I left her outside, she was back in the kitchen within 10 minutes. No footsteps, no open doors, just there. And I swear on everything, I just heard something upstairs, like a dragging sound, long and slow. I live alone. I'll post part 2 tomorrow if I make it through the night. If anyone knows what Unit 731 or Black Hollow means, please help me out. Because something tells me this wasn't just a mystery box. This was a warning. You ever get that feeling like someone's watching you, even when you're alone? Not like paranoia. I'm talking about that gut-deep feeling where your body knows something your brain won't admit. That primal freeze where every inch of your skin crawls and your eyes start scanning the corners of the room by themselves. That's how I felt at exactly 12 a.m. She moved, not dramatically, nothing Hollywood. She didn't float or blink or twitch her neck in a jump scare kind of way. She just shifted. I'd set the doll down on the kitchen table, facing the hallway. Her burnt little face had been turned slightly to the left when I left her there. I know that for a fact because I kept checking it every few minutes like a maniac. But at 12 o'clock, when my phone buzzed with the hour, she was staring dead at me. No sound, no shuffle, just new position. My heart almost stopped. I didn't scream, didn't run. I just sat there, frozen in place with a sharp cold filling my lungs like I had swallowed ice. I wanted to convince myself I'd made a mistake, that maybe I moved her. Maybe I was just too tired. But then the phone from the box buzzed again. The screen lit up. Check the camera roll. I hadn't even thought to do that yet. With shaky hands, I opened the Photos app. And bro, there were 37 pictures in there, all taken in the last few days. Each one was a photo of me, sleeping. Different angles, different outfits. One of them, I swear to God, was from the exact position I had just been in earlier that day. You can see me passed out on the couch with my laptop open and a half-eaten McDonald's bag on my chest. And right in the bottom corner of every single one, just barely visible, was the top of the doll's head. Watching, I felt sick, like actual nausea. I ran to the bathroom and almost threw up, but I didn't have time. Because that dragging sound from upstairs, it came again, this time louder. Let me give you context real quick. My room is on the second floor, across from the guest room. No one ever uses it. It's always locked because my dad had stored some antique crap in there from our grandma's old place in Maine. I don't even have the key. We've had that door shut for 3 years. So imagine how I felt when I heard the click of that door opening. I grabbed the biggest kitchen knife I could find and started creeping up the stairs, heart pounding so hard I thought I might actually pass out. Each step I took, the air felt heavier, like I was breathing through water. When I got to the top of the stairs, I saw it. The guest room door was wide open. Just a crack at first, but wide enough for me to see what was inside. The doll was sitting on the windowsill, not the kitchen table, not downstairs. She was upstairs, facing out, like she was watching something outside the house. I backed up slowly, every instinct in me telling me not to look away. But something caught my attention, something worse than anything I've ever seen in real life. On the walls were handprints, tiny black handprints smeared all over the old floral wallpaper like soot or burned grease. They were smeared like something had been crawling around the room. All 4 walls, the ceiling, even the door I had just walked through. I stepped backward and the floor creaked. That's when the doll's head turned toward me. I didn't imagine it. I wasn't sleep deprived. It turned with sound, like stiff wood straining against age, like an old rocking chair groaning under its own weight. Her eyes weren't marble anymore. They were real, bloodshot, wet, unblinking, locked with mine. And she smiled, not with her mouth. That thing never moved, but something in her eyes, that awful glint of awareness, gave off the deepest, most sadistic form of joy I've ever seen. The joy of being seen again. The joy of being found after decades of being buried. And the joy of what she was about to do to me. I slammed the door and sprinted back down the stairs, locked myself in the bathroom, tried to call the cops, but the line wouldn't connect. I got static, then whispers, low, guttural whispers, like someone breathing straight into my ear. I don't remember much after that. I blacked out. I must have. When I woke up, it was morning. Sunlight was pouring through the blinds. Everything looked normal. No soot handprints. No open door upstairs. The doll was gone. And then I saw my kitchen. Every cabinet was open. My fridge door was wide. All the drawers had been pulled out and dumped onto the floor. Someone had written something on the kitchen wall in red Sharpie. You saw her. Now you carry her. What does that mean? Carry her where? Is she inside me now? In my head? I haven't slept in 3 days since then. Every time I close my eyes, I see that room, that burned wallpaper, that smile. And the worst part, my phone won't stop receiving texts from that same burner phone in the box. Every day at 3:33 a.m., I get a new one. Just one word per message. Come. Closer. Listen. Inside. And then last night, it sent me a video. It was only 11 seconds long. No sound, just footage of my bedroom from above, like a security camera angle, showing me lying in bed, completely still, and standing right over me was someone. Not the doll. Not exactly. It looked like a person, but wrong, like their joints bent the wrong way. They were completely still, except for this twitching in their hands, like they were trying not to move. And their face was covered with a plastic mask of the Annabel doll's face, like it had been welded onto human skin. Their arms were tied with that same rosary, and the very last second of the video, they lifted their head and looked directly into the camera, into me. I don't know how they got in. I don't know who they are, but something followed that box. Or maybe something was inside it. Something that's not just a spirit, not just haunted, but intelligent, ancient. I started doing research, found a thread on an obscure paranormal forum called the HoloNet, where people talk about doll familiars, spirits that don't attach to places, but to people. Apparently, once you see them, they become part of your reality. They're bound to you, like malware for the soul. Someone even referenced Black Hollow, that same name from the dog tag, said it was a real place in northern Connecticut, an abandoned psychiatric research facility near the border of a protected forest reserve. The kind of place that's been erased from maps but shows up in declassified government documents from the 50s. They claimed Unit 731 wasn't just some World War II nightmare program, that remnants of it were relocated to the US under Project Eden using human test subjects. Dolls were used to channel the victim's fear, because fear, apparently, feeds whatever it is they were trying to summon. I thought it was a conspiracy theory, until today, because this morning I got a package, no return address, no name, just a plain manila envelope. Inside was a Polaroid, me, sleeping, and next to me in bed, the doll, smiling. I'm not going to sleep tonight, or maybe ever again. If anyone has heard of Black Hollow, or Project Eden, or anything about spirit-bound objects like this, please DM me. I don't know how much longer I can stay here. I think this thing is getting closer every time I see it, and if it finds a way inside me. 3 days ago, I made the worst decision of my life. I drove to Black Hollow. I don't even know why I did it. I think the messages wore me down. You can only ignore something watching you for so long before it convinces you it's safer to walk toward the nightmare than wait for it to come to you. Every mirror I passed showed that thing's reflection instead of mine. Every phone screen glitched and flashed her burned plastic smile for a millisecond at a time. Even my own shadow started splitting at night, as if something was walking beside me, but only showed up when the lights were just dim enough. I hadn't eaten in 2 days. I couldn't. My food kept going rancid before I could touch it, like it rotted in real time. No flies, no mold, just black. I microwaved a frozen lasagna and watched the center turn jet black before the timer even hit 0. So yeah, I cracked. I needed answers, and I found them in the worst place imaginable. Black Hollow isn't on Google Maps. You have to piece it together from coordinates buried in Reddit threads, fringe conspiracy, YouTube videos with 13 views, and one post I found deep in a Discord server where people talk about liminal gateways. There's a dead forest up near the Massachusetts-Connecticut border, near an abandoned railroad track that runs under a rusted bridge tagged with the words, "God died here." You walk 15 minutes past that bridge and the trees start getting weird. I'm not talking aesthetic weird, I mean wrong. Bark that feels like skin, branches that don't sway in the wind, trees that creak rhythmically, like they're breathing. Eventually, I found the compound, Black Hollow, or what's left of it. It looked like an old orphanage or asylum, something straight out of a Cold War horror movie. Barbed wire fence, long since snapped in sections, security signs that had been clawed through, and the building itself, no windows, just dark holes where glass used to be, like empty eye sockets staring into you. I had my flashlight, a GoPro strapped to my chest, not even sure why I brought it. No one seeing that footage anyway, and a rusted crowbar I'd found in my garage. Inside was dead air, the kind of silence that presses against your ears, not the absence of sound, the removal of it, like I stepped into a place where sound wasn't allowed to exist. The halls were long and curved slightly, like a hospital ward. Graffiti covered the walls, mostly incoherent scribbles, but one word kept showing up again and again. Carrier. Not written like vandalism, more like obsession. Over and over again. Sometimes scratched in deep, like whoever wrote it bled doing it. I swear I saw fingerprints in dried blood. The deeper I went, the colder it got. I saw wheelchairs overturned, children's shoes, crib pieces, a decaying doll hanging by a shoelace from a rusted IV pole. I should have turned back. Every instinct screamed at me to turn back, but I couldn't, because I started hearing something, a lullaby, real soft, like it was being sung through a wall. I followed it to the basement. The stairwell was rusted and half collapsed, but I climbed down anyway, each step creaking like it was going to give. The air was thick, wet, and sour, like the breath of something ancient. At the bottom was a massive iron door, no handle, just a keypad and a handprint scanner. I stood there confused, thinking it was useless, until my phone buzzed. It was the dark web flip phone from the box. The screen lit up with one word, touch. I hesitated, then placed my hand on the scanner. It clicked green. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside was a laboratory. I'm not joking, like something out of Stranger Things, but real, tangible, horrifying. Medical tables, empty cages, cameras, shelves filled with jars of liquid and things inside, limbs that weren't fully human, doll heads with organic eyes. One had an infant's mouth, real teeth poking through swollen gums. I found a cabinet full of VHS tapes labeled with subject codes like B731-A and Unit 7 failed transfer. One tape was already loaded in the player. I pressed play. The footage was in black and white, time-stamped 1973. A man in a lab coat was speaking into a recorder. Test 14. Entity appears to respond aggressively to traditional religious items, requires young host for binding, transfer incomplete without emotional trauma present, proceeding with introduction of target object into Ward 3, subject Annabel L. Then it cut. Static. Then the screaming started. That was the worst sound I've ever heard. Not like pain screaming, mind-breaking terror. The kind of sound a person makes when their reality breaks in half. A child's voice shrieking, "Make it stop! Make it stop! She's looking through me!" And then silence. Then a voice, but it wasn't recorded. It came from the room, whispering from the walls. "Carrier, you brought her back. She knows your name now." The lights flickered. I turned to run, but she was there. Not the doll, the thing she used to be. This child-shaped figure, skin burned and stretched like wax, eyes too wide, mouth stitched shut with wire, like someone tried to keep whatever was inside from getting out. She walked with this jerky, unnatural motion, like her bones were wrong under her skin, like a puppet on tangled strings. And the rosary that used to bind the doll, it was hanging from her neck now, like a trophy. I backed up, raised the crowbar, but she didn't flinch. She just pointed at the table behind me. There was a file folder sitting there, open. Inside was a photo of me as a child, 8 years old, missing teeth, wearing the exact same red hoodie I remembered losing during a road trip to New Hampshire. The caption under it read, Subject D, 731-15, Bible, transfer delay, pending emotional trigger. My hands were shaking. I couldn't breathe. I dropped the crowbar. Then she moved, fast, like a glitch. 1 second across the room, the next, inches from me. Her mouth opened, wires snapping loose, and a hand reached out of her throat. A human hand, reaching, grabbing for my face, nails digging into my cheeks. That's when I blacked out again. When I woke up, I was back in my car, parked outside a gas station. I don't remember driving. My clothes were soaked. My face had scratches, deep ones. My phone was gone. The dark web phone too. All I had was that same manila envelope sitting in my passenger seat. Inside, another Polaroid. This time, it wasn't me. It was my mom, sitting at our kitchen table, drinking coffee, laughing, oblivious, and behind her, out of focus, standing just beyond the hallway. That doll. Same burnt dress, same rosary arms, same smile. I think this thing has attached itself to my bloodline. I think they used me when I was a kid and wiped my memory. And now that I've brought her back to Black Hollow, I've reactivated whatever the hell she really is. And I don't think she wants me anymore. I think she wants everyone I love. This is a warning. If you get a box from the dark web, don't open it. Don't even touch it. Because once you see her, she never stops watching. I should have never come back to the house. I don't even remember unlocking the front door. It was open, just wide open, like it had been waiting. And inside, it smelled like formaldehyde and rot. The lights wouldn't turn on. None of them. My phone battery was at 3%, even though I charged it on the drive. Every surface, the kitchen counter, the hallway walls, my bedroom mirror, was covered in tiny handprints again. Black, like soot, but thicker, greasier. I touched one, just to be sure. It felt like warm blood, still wet. My mom's car wasn't in the driveway. Thank God. I prayed she wasn't home. I hadn't heard from her in 2 days, but I prayed she was anywhere else. Then I saw my bedroom door. It was shut, tied with the same rosary, except this time, the beads were teeth, Human teeth, worn down, yellowed, baby molars, incisors, all strung together on what looked like animal sinew, and written across the wood in red lipstick, smeared with fingernails, were the words, "She wants to play now." I should have turned and left, but it's like the house sucked me in. Each step forward felt like wading through concrete. My legs didn't respond right. The air buzzed like static. I could feel pressure building in my ears, like my head was underwater and something was moving in the deep. My fingers trembled as I unwrapped the rosary of teeth. When I opened the door, I finally understood what hell looks like. It was my room, but not. Like a reconstruction done from memory. The posters were upside down. My bed was nailed to the ceiling. The windows were bricked over. In the corner, there was a TV, the old tube kind from the early 2000s, playing static. And sitting in the center of the room, surrounded by children's shoes and doll limbs, was a red chair, and she was on it, the doll. Except now, she was changing, more human. Her dress was cleaner, her skin less scorched, but her eyes, still wrong, swollen, veiny, flickering like something inside was trying to push through. And in her lap was a board game, homemade, scratched onto a large wooden slab, like a twisted version of Monopoly. The spaces read, "Awake, sleep, remember, feed, bury, suffer, breathe, silence, cut, laugh, bleed, watch, 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 watch." The spinner had no numbers, just symbols, a cross, a knife, a screaming face, a mirror, a fetus, and her hand moved. She spun it. It landed on the mirror. My body twisted involuntarily, like puppet strings had taken over my nerves, and I turned my head toward my bedroom mirror on the wall. It didn't reflect me. It reflected her, a girl, about 9, wearing a melted version of the same doll's dress. Her eyes were mine. I mean exactly mine. Same hazel, same weird freckle near the pupil. Her face was bleeding from the mouth, gums torn. She was yanking out her own teeth, one by one, stuffing them into a teddy bear's stitched belly. And she was smiling. Then the mirror cracked, just one long split down the middle. And in the crack, I saw something I can never unsee. Behind her was a figure, 7 feet tall, wearing a stitched skin mask made of children's faces, mouths sewn shut, eyelids peeled open. It had hands made of doll arms, all fused together, like someone melted toys and bones into a weapon, and it was whispering something. I leaned in, unable to stop myself, and I heard it. "The game ends when you give her a new face." I backed away, fell to the ground, and the doll moved again. Not fast, slow, like she was savoring it. Head tilted, twitchy joints. Every time she blinked, a sound like glass breaking echoed through the room. And then, the lights flickered, and someone was standing behind me. I turned. It was my mom, but she wasn't right. Her eyes were missing, 2 black voids leaking something thick. Her mouth hung open in a silent scream, and carved into her chest, deep and freshly bleeding, were the words, "I hid you once. I can't hide you anymore." Then she fell forward, and there was a note stapled to her scalp. I pulled it off with shaking hands. It read, "You were never supposed to remember, but now it's too late. The carrier must become the vessel. Let her in, or she'll take another." The door was now standing, her face inches from mine. She opened her mouth, but instead of sound, smoke poured out. Thick, black, oily smoke that filled the room instantly. I started choking, falling to the ground, eyes burning. My vision blurred, and in the smoke, I saw the game. It was still spinning. over and over. Watch, watch, watch. Then darkness. I woke up in a hospital. White walls, IV in my arm, but no doctors, no nurses, just silence. And on the nightstand, the doll, new face, my mum's, perfectly stitched onto the plastic. And in her lap, a new game board, this time with one word across every space. Play. I tried ripping the 4 out, but it wasn't connected to anything. No fluids, no monitors, just empty tubing that snaked under the bed like a leech. I climbed out and looked under the bed. It didn't have a bottom. It was just open space. A hole. Pitch black. And the doll was now on the wall, stuck like a spider, head turned 180 degrees, watching me. She blinked once, and the room shifted. I swear to you, it's like reality bent. The hospital walls melted into asylum walls, the same ones from Black Hollow. Only now they were breathing, inhaling and exhaling with every step I took. And someone, something, was crying behind every door. Children, dozens of them. I started running, down a hallway that kept extending. The exit signs flipped upside down. The numbers on the walls twisted into symbols I couldn't read. The crying turned to laughter, sick, echoing laughter, layered like a chorus. I finally reached a door at the end marked, "Return her." Inside was a massive white room, bright lights, surgical table in the middle, and on it, me, my body, but open, ribs cracked apart, chest cavity empty, no blood, no organs, just a tiny chair, and a doll sitting in it. She looked up and spoke. Her voice was the voice from every recording, every phone message, every whisper I'd heard in the last month, all at once. You were always the game. You just forgot the rules. I don't remember what happened after that, but now, I'm not sure I ever left. Every time I blink, I'm somewhere new. My childhood bedroom, the basement of Black Hollow, a playground filled with faceless kids, an airplane flying through a storm, but no one's piloting it, a frozen Starbucks with customers frozen mid-conversation, mouths open, eyes weeping ink. I don't think this is reality anymore. I think I've been trapped inside her, inside Annabel's game. And worst of all, the doll isn't even a doll anymore. It's me. I saw it, my own reflection in the cracked mirror of a hallway I didn't recognize. My skin peeling, my arms jointed like porcelain, my mouth stitched, my smile wide. The box didn't bring the doll. It brought me back to her. I was the vessel, and she's been using me to play again. With all of you. I'm writing this from a stolen laptop inside a motel off Route 666. That's not a joke. The sign outside has been vandalized so many times, the original numbers unreadable. Just 3 6s in faded red spray paint, dripping like blood in the summer heat. The walls in here are yellowed, smell like a dead mouse soaked in bleach. The ceiling fan spins, even when the power's out. And every mirror in this place, every single one, shows something behind you. I'm not supposed to be alive. I'm not supposed to exist. I shouldn't remember any of this. That's part of the game. That's what they do. You think you're in control. You think you're watching. But this whole time, you've been on the board. And now, it's your turn. Let me take you back. Not to Black Hollow. Not to the doll. Not even to me. I need to tell you what happened before the box came. Before I was me. You see, there are files. Government files. Handwritten reports stored in cardboard boxes inside windowless storage bunkers in places like Langley, Groom Lake, and sites that don't have names. Reports stamped with labels like Project Dollhouse, Project Edenfield, 731-E, Memory Fracture. Candidates. My name is listed. I found it. Or what used to be me. Daniel Foster, age 9. Recovered from Edenfield Orphanage Fire, 2006. Survivor status. Redacted. Memory wipe ordered. Transference. Pending. Do you understand? I wasn't just chosen. I was created. They made us. Not born. Grown. 32 of us. All from different states. Different backgrounds. All orphans. All with some form of trauma. Fires, drownings, disappearances. But we weren't victims. We were bait. They fed the doll pieces of us. Every scar, every memory, every nightmare. Each time we screamed, they documented it, studied how much fear the thing in the box could absorb before it started changing. And then they locked it away. They called it a success. They thought they'd buried it with Black Hollow. They were wrong, because that thing, that entity inside the doll, doesn't stay buried. It remembers, and it wants to play. The motel TV turned itself on 2 nights ago. No signal, just static. Then, that nursery song again, played backwards, slow, melting like wax against the speaker. Rockabye baby, in the treetop, when the wind blows. The screen showed a playground, not a real one, an empty one, covered in fog. The swings moved by themselves. The slide was covered in teeth, and sitting at the merry-go-round, turning it with broken doll arms. Me, except not really. The me they built, smiling with sewn lips, watching with eyes that weren't mine anymore. And sitting next to him, someone new, a child, younger than me, a girl, blonde hair, wearing a blue sundress with Mickey Mouse on the front, crying, trapped, and on the screen flashed the message, "One more player. Find her, or she's next." I don't know how I got back into the city. I remember blacking out on the motel floor, a high-pitched sound drilling into my skull like a dental drill soaked in regret. When I opened my eyes, I was on a public bus surrounded by mannequins, real ones, still, plastic, painted faces, sitting perfectly in the seats, but each one was holding something, a child's toy, a music box, a teddy bear, a baby doll missing an eye. One of them turned its head toward me, not moved, not fell, turned, looked. Its lips stretched into a silent scream, and written across its chest in childlike handwriting were the words, "Her name is Ellie. She lives at 281 Hollowbrook Lane." I got off at the next stop, vomited into a trash can. Then I ran. I found the house. It was a run-down duplex on a dead-end street near the woods. Christmas lights still hanging in June. Front porch sagging like broken bones. There were no birds, no bugs, no sound at all. I knocked. No answer. The front door creaked open. The air inside, frozen, like a morgue. Photos on the walls had burned out faces. Every picture frame had a little girl in it, smiling, hugging a teddy bear, sitting on Santa's lap. But her face had been scratched out with what looked like fingernails. And in the middle of the living room was the box. Not a box. The box. The same one I'd ordered. Only now, it was bigger. Like it grew. The twine was still there. But the wax seal? It was pulsing, like a heartbeat. Next to it was a note, handwritten in crayon. She came out of the TV. I didn't mean to. She's inside now. She said you would come. Do I get to go back to the real world? Mommy's cold. That's when I heard the giggling. Upstairs. The stairs were wrong. Each step was wet. I left footprints, but they weren't mine. They were bare feet, small ones, running ahead of me, even though there was no one there. I followed them to a pink-painted bedroom at the end of the hall. Walls covered in Disney princess decals, peeling and half-melted. The TV was on, playing static, and sitting in front of it, knees to her chest, was Ellie. But her face was fading, like pixels dying, like her body was being rewritten, and holding her from behind, whispering into her ear, was the doll. Except now, she was full size. A woman-shaped thing made of porcelain and bone, dressed in children's skin, rosary beads wrapped around her neck and arms, carved with tiny words like silence, obedience, sacrifice. And her face? My face. She turned to me, smiled, and said, "Tag, you're it." I tried to pull Ellie away, but when I touched her, my hands went numb, like touching dry ice and electricity at the same time. Her skin was flaking, falling away into white ash, and the doll's mouth opened, too wide, and inside was another mouth, with teeth that didn't end. The room twisted, the walls curled inward, the ceiling opened up into black sky filled with faces, all of them screaming silently. Children, women, men, all with their eyes stitched open and mouths shut. And the doll whispered one final word, "Play." I don't remember escaping, but when I woke up, Ellie was gone. So was the house. It burned down that night, made the news, but no bodies were found, no box, no records of a girl named Ellie ever living there. Only thing they found was a single Polaroid of me as a child, sitting in front of a TV, with you right next to me. So if you're reading this, check your mailbox. If you hear something moving inside the walls, if your reflection blinks when you don't, if you get a package with no return address and the seal feels warm, do not open it, because you're the next player now. The box doesn't pick randomly. It picks the curious, the bored, the lonely, the ones who believe it's all just a game. But remember this, the game doesn't end when you lose. It ends when you become the doll. I hope you weren't playing alone. I bought the James Webb telescope from the dark web. I discovered something terrifying in deep space. Hey Reddit. So, this is weird. I don't usually post stuff like this. I'm not some horror writer or internet mystery hunter. I'm just a regular dude. 23. Live alone. Work a boring tech support job. Play way too much Valorant. And spend my weekends scrolling through YouTube rabbit holes or watching creepy analog horror series like Local 58 and Gemini Home Entertainment while eating Wendy's in bed. But what happened to me a few weeks ago? Man, I still don't know how to explain it without sounding completely insane. I'm gonna try to write it all out in parts because I think I need to. And I swear to God, every word of this is true. I'll start from the beginning. Just stick with me. So it all started about a month ago. It was one of those late night YouTube spirals. You know what I mean? 1 second, you're watching a Mr. Beast video, and 10 minutes later, you're on some 240p video titled, "Real NASA Footage They Don't Want You to See, 2023, uploaded by a dude with 17 subscribers and a username like AstroTruther117. I usually don't take that stuff seriously, but one video caught my eye. It was titled, "James Webb Telescope Replacement Was Found on the Dark Web." It sounded fake as hell, obviously, but the guy in the video looked off. His room looked like he hadn't left it in days. His hands were shaking, and he kept looking off camera like he was scared someone was watching him. The video quality was awful, grainy, oversaturated, with that weird echoey audio, but what he said stuck with me. He claimed that there was a second off-the-books version of the James Webb Telescope, one that was built not by NASA, but by private corporations. He said it was capable of seeing things we weren't supposed to see, like past the cosmic microwave background, past what we even understand as light, like it could see time itself folding. Sounds insane, right? But here's the kicker. At the end of the video, he posted a link, a .onion link. And yes, I was dumb enough to click it. Now, before anyone judges me, I've been on the dark web before. Not for anything sketchy. I was just one of those edgy high school kids who thought it was cool. I never bought anything, just browsed forums, watched creepy countdown timers, and got scared out of my mind by red rooms that probably weren't even real. But this link, it led to a site I've never seen before. Black background, neon green text. The title, The Eye That Sees Beyond. There was only one listing on the whole site. JWST mirror.v2. Access to direct telescope feed plus interface software. Price, 0.012. Bitcoin, 850 at the time. It looked like a scam, like 1000% a scam. But what got me was the video embedded on the page. It showed footage, real looking footage, from space. Not the usual grainy telescope stuff. This was too real. Planets rotating in real time. Moons collapsing into gas giants. Some kind of black worm-like structure floating in absolute darkness with tiny blinking red lights that looked back at the camera. I know this sounds like a sci-fi creepypasta, but it didn't feel fake. This wasn't YouTube special effects. It wasn't even well produced. It looked like raw, unedited satellite footage. You could hear static, random mechanical hums, and something like whispering. I stared at that page for hours. I didn't even mean to click purchase. I think my hand just moved. 3 days later, I get a knock on my apartment door at 2:41 a.m. Not even joking. I checked the ring cam. A guy in a USPS jacket, but it was off. It looked printed, not stitched. The logo was blurry, and the guy had a hoodie on under the uniform, like he was hiding something. He didn't say a word, just dropped a metal case at my door and walked away. I opened it up. Inside was a small black cube, about the size of a GameCube, with the glowing red circle in the center. There was also a USB-C cable and a tiny card with one sentence printed in silver ink. Do not connect under direct sunlight. I know, I should have called the cops, or just tossed it out. But curiosity, man, it's a hell of a drug. So I waited until night, closed all the blinds, plugged the cube into my PC. The screen flickered, then went black. For like 30 seconds, I thought I bricked my PC. Then a window popped up with the title, Accessing JWST Mirror V2 Feed. No UI, no options, just a full screen view of space. Real space, not stars. Those little white dots weren't even visible. It was more like a shifting black ocean. In the distance, I saw something slowly spinning, like a spiral. But it wasn't a galaxy. It looked mechanical, like a wheel, except every now and then it twitched, like it was breathing. Then the camera shifted, and I swear on my life, it focused on Earth. Except this version of Earth was off. It looked older. The continents were darker. Cities were glowing too bright, like they were on fire, and hovering above the atmosphere. There was something massive, like miles across. It looked like a tangle of wires and bones, held together with blinking lights. I don't know how long I stared. I think it was hours. I didn't blink once. Then my speakers screeched. this high-pitched static that made my nose bleed, and a voice came through. A woman's voice. Calm. Robotic. Connection verified. Deep observer initiated. You have been seen. Then the cube hummed, like it was alive. I unplugged everything, threw the cube in the closet, went to bed, thought I'd hallucinated it all. But the next morning, I checked my phone. Every app was gone. No YouTube, no Instagram, no Reddit. Even the Play Store was missing, replaced with a new app I did not install, with a black icon and the same red circle from the cube. Its name? I tried to delete it. I couldn't. Then I started getting messages, not texts, not push notifications, just whispers, coming from my phone speaker. They only said one thing: keep watching. There's a lot more, like what I saw the second time I connected the cube, and why I think I'm being followed now. Something is watching me, through the cube, through the app, through space, and whatever it is, it's getting closer. You ever feel like your bones are vibrating? Not like a shiver or a chill, but like something under your skin is trying to get out. That's how I felt the second night. Right after I deleted my browsing history, chucked the cube into the back of my closet, and convinced myself it was all a sick dream. You know, too many Red Bulls, too much lunar YouTube binging, not enough sleep. Except when I woke up the next morning, the app was still there. Except now, it was open. I didn't open it. It was just running. Full screen. Showing the same feed again. Except this time, it wasn't showing Earth. It was showing me. I was asleep in my bed, blanket pulled halfway down, mouth slightly open. Everything. Even the slight flicker of the LED strip under my desk, glowing blue. I freaked. Immediately tossed my phone across the room. Thought, okay, someone hacked my camera. Then I noticed something. The angle of the shot. It wasn't from my phone. It was from above me. The camera feed was looking straight down at me, like it was from the ceiling, like from an angle that doesn't exist in my apartment. And worse, there was something else in the room with me. Something standing in the corner, behind the dresser. A shape, just barely visible. Tall, skinny, no face. Like someone erased the face with a wet sponge. Its arms were too long. They hung all the way to its knees, but they twitched like something was inside them, trying to push out. The feed lasted about 17 seconds. I counted. Then it went black again, and a new message popped up on the screen. You are now a spectator. I didn't sleep the next night, or the next. I kept hearing static in my ears, not from the app, not from the cube, from inside my ears. It was like when you get that deep pressure in your head from a flight, except it kept building. Every time I tried to lay down, it felt like something was pushing on my skull from the inside, like my own eyes were going to explode. Then, around 3:30 a.m., my laptop turned on by itself. It booted to the feed. No password, no login screen. It was different this time. No stars, no spinning machines, no Earth, just blackness, until something started to move. It was hard to describe what I saw. At first it looked like worms, dozens of black tendrils wriggling through the void. Then I realized they weren't worms. They were fingers. Massive, skinless fingers, stretching from behind some kind of veil, trying to rip it open. Each one was as thick as a skyscraper and ended in these cracked, bloodless nails that looked human, but not quite. And then it pushed its face through. I have no other words for it. It looked like a planet-sized skull, floating in the void. No flesh, no eyes, just holes. Its jaw was cracked, like it had been dislocated, hanging at an angle that made me feel like I was about to puke. Inside its mouth were cities. I swear to God, there were entire cities inside its mouth, rotating, screaming, skyscrapers made of bone, windows glowing red, tiny silhouettes pacing the rooftops like ants. But the worst part, the people weren't moving like humans. They were glitching, jerking back and forth, like VHS tape distortion. And then the feed zoomed in, straight into one of the buildings, through a shattered window, and I saw my apartment. It was the same setup, same broken lamp, same coffee mug, with the dumb McDonald's Monopoly sticker still half peeled off, but the walls were soaked, like they were breathing. Something wet was moving underneath the wallpaper. There was someone on the floor, a copy of me, laying on their back, twitching, eyes wide open, mouth gaping, except the mouth didn't end. It kept stretching, down to the chest, down to the stomach, like the entire front of the face had split in half, a gaping vertical canyon of teeth and static leaking out. I couldn't hear anything, but I felt it, like it was vibrating inside my chest. Then it looked at the camera. I looked at the camera, and it whispered something. Only one word. Join. I blacked out. I don't even remember hitting the ground. I woke up 6 hours later in the bathtub, with the shower running full blast, freezing cold, my fingernails torn up, like I'd been clawing at the tiles. When I crawled back to my laptop, the screen was off, just black. The cube was humming again, this time louder. I tried to unplug it. It shocked me, like a live wire. My hand burned for hours. That night, I got an email. No sender, no subject. Just a single link to a live stream titled, Live Transmission, Subject 21,126 Observation. It had 17 viewers. All usernames were just coordinates. One of them looked familiar. I googled it. It was a deserted island near the Arctic Circle. No human population. Another set of coordinates led to a restricted area near Area 51. Another was right in the middle of the Mariana Trench. I clicked the stream, and I swear to everything, I saw murder. It was grainy, like security footage. Some guy in a lab coat strapped to a table. He was screaming, except the audio was reversed. It sounded like something trying to scream backward underwater. There were wires attached to his head, and the feed kept glitching between his face and space, like his memories were being projected into the telescope. Every time he screamed, a new star blinked into existence on the screen, and then something entered the room from above, like it was phasing through reality. It had no body, just a void, and it absorbed him like a sponge. In 1 second, he was screaming. The next, he was gone. The feed showed nothing but static, and a note flashed at the bottom. Human error, noise to signal, next subject initiated. The screen went black, and my webcam light turned on. I screamed, loud enough for my upstairs neighbor to bang on the floor. I ripped the cube out of the USB port and smashed it with a hammer. Guess what? It didn't break. It didn't even scratch. It just blinked, like it was disappointed in me. That night, the app on my phone updated itself. No prompt, no install button. It added a new feature, Deep Observer Mode enabled. I tapped it like an idiot, just to see, just for a second. It opened my camera, but not in selfie mode. It was showing something behind me, a tall, shadowy figure, no face, skin like burned plastic. It was standing in the corner, slowly raising its arm, pointing at the wall. I turned around. There was writing on the wall, scrawled in what looked like ash all across the white paint in uneven, twitchy letters. You have been chosen to interpret the signal. That was 3 nights ago. Since then, I haven't left my apartment. Not because I don't want to, but because when I open the door, it doesn't lead to the hallway anymore. It leads to space. Real, terrifying, mind-shattering space. No stars. Just that black ocean. Just that breathing, twitching machine in the distance. I tried throwing something through. My old GameCube controller. It didn't fall. It floated away. Slowly. And then something threw it back. But it wasn't my controller anymore. It was dripping. There's something wrong with the James Webb feed. Something it saw. Something it opened. And now, through this black market mirror version, it's spreading. Through signals. Through cameras. Through us. I think I was supposed to see it. I think I am the signal now. My face keeps glitching in reflections. My voice echoes before I speak. I stop checking the app, but it still plays by itself. And last night, when I woke up again at 3:33 a.m., I saw something new on the screen. A countdown. Next phase. 5 days remaining. I don't know what happens when it hits 0, but I can hear the static in my dreams now. It's saying my name, in reverse, and laughing. If you're still reading, I'm sorry. But you've seen it too, now, haven't you? Your camera's on, isn't it? You're being watched. There's something alive inside me. I'm not talking metaphorically. I mean that in the most literal, skin-crawling, stomach-twisting way you can possibly imagine. I feel it, moving, sometimes slow, like it's swimming through molasses inside my veins. Other times it jerks, like a mechanical tick, something twitching just below my ribs. The thing is, I didn't let it in. I didn't invite it. I just looked too long. It saw me. It downloaded itself into my body, like malware, into a broken firewall. I haven't eaten in 4 days. Not because I'm not hungry. I am. But food doesn't taste like food anymore. Everything I try to swallow feels like ashes soaked in seawater, and my body rejects it. I threw up blood and wires yesterday. Wires. Tiny copper-like strands knotted together with wet, black hair. When I pulled them out of my throat, they screamed. Not out loud, but in my head. The same voice from the feed. The one that whispered, "You have been seen." I'm getting ahead of myself. After the countdown started, things accelerated. Every night since then has been worse than the last. My electronics don't turn off anymore. I shut down my phone. It powers back on. No boot logo. Just a live feed of somewhere underground. Not space. Not Earth. Somewhere in between. It's always the same hallway. Metallic. Breathing walls. Long fluorescent lights that blink like they're trying to send Morse code. Sometimes the hallway is empty. Sometimes something is crawling along the ceiling. It doesn't move like a person. It clings with all 4 limbs like a spider, its arms snapping backward with wet crunches. Its head is upside down, mouth wide open, jaw hanging, eyes missing. Just empty, oozing sockets that still look. I can feel it looking at me, even through a screen. I see it in reflections now. Storefront windows, my phone's black screen, even in the mirror when I pass it too fast. But it's not always me in the mirror. 2 nights ago, I locked myself in the bathroom. I turned off every device. No lights, just a candle. I looked at myself in the mirror and told myself I was real. That's when my reflection started laughing. Not me. It laughed like it knew something I didn't. like it had already watched the end of my story and couldn't wait for the punchline. Its mouth opened wider than possible, dislocating, and from inside its throat I saw space, the spiral thing from the first feed. Except now it was closer, and it was pulsing. The spiral wasn't just rotating, it was spinning itself into reality, like a black hole knitting together in reverse. And wrapped around it were bodies, thousands, stretched into shapes they weren't meant to be, limbs looped and tied like cables, faces locked in eternal screams with no eyes, just black holes, like someone drilled through their skulls and replaced their consciousness with static. Some of them were still moving. Some of them were still alive. Later that same night, I woke up with blood on my hands. Not a little, a lot. The kind that soaks into your skin, the kind that stains your fingerprints. I couldn't even figure out where it came from at first. I ran to the bathroom to clean it off, and that's when I noticed the mark, carved into my chest, just below the sternum. A symbol, a spiral, exactly like the one from the feed. But this one was cut into my flesh with something sharp. Except, I live alone. No forced entry, no broken windows. The door was still chained from the inside. That means either I did it, or something got in without opening anything. And the scariest part, the wound didn't hurt. It pulsed. It felt like a heartbeat, but not mine. Every time I dream now, it's the same. I'm in space, floating above a planet I don't recognize. Black water, no land. The sky is filled with faces, not stars, not clouds. Faces, billions of them, all pressed into the sky like wallpaper. Their mouths are open, screaming, but with no sound. The only noise I hear is the countdown. It's not just numbers anymore. It's a chant, in a language I don't recognize, but my body understands it. It makes me convulse when I hear it. My eyes roll back, my limbs jerk. One time, I woke up on the ceiling. I swear to God, laying flat against the drywall, like gravity, forgot me. Then I fell, straight down, woke up in a pool of my own blood. My nose had been bleeding in a perfect spiral pattern on the floor. Yesterday, I tried to get help. I went to the hospital, didn't make it past the lobby. The receptionist looked up at me, smiled, and said, "We've been waiting for you. Subject 21,126. That's the same number from the live stream, the one where the guy got absorbed by that void thing. I didn't answer. I turned and ran, but when I looked back, she wasn't behind the desk anymore. She was on the ceiling, crawling. The cube started clicking 2 days ago, not humming, clicking, like something inside was trying to get out. Every few seconds, the red circle glows and emits a little mechanical tick, tick, tick sound, and then I feel the thing inside me twitch back. I think it's communicating with it. I think they're the same thing. Whatever they've plugged into my mind, whatever virus or entity or otherworldly transmission they've infected me with, it's not stopping. It's growing. I scratched through the skin on my arms last night. Something was under it. Not bugs, not metaphor. Fiber optic cables. They were glowing. I pulled one out and it screamed so loud my ears bled. My vision shook. The walls started melting. My furniture bent at impossible angles, like they were reacting to a gravity shift that only I could feel. The air smelled like boiled meat and printer ink. My TV turned on by itself, and on the screen was me. Not now me. Future me. Older, pale, eyes fully black, sitting in a white room, repeating the same word over and over again. Transmission, transmission, transmission. Behind me were mirrors, all of them showing different versions of me. Dead, hollowed out, melting, screaming. One of them had no skin. One of them was missing a head. One of them was floating in space, with wires coming out of every orifice. I'm starting to think I'm not the first version of myself. I think I've done this before. And every time I try to change the ending, it just resets. The countdown is at 2 days now. I don't know what happens when it hits 0, but I'm terrified it's not death. I think it's ascension, or integration, or whatever they call it, when your humanity is stripped away and replaced with pure, conscious, interdimensional signal noise. Every time I blink now, I see coordinates, longitude, latitude, sector IDs. They're burned into my vision like after images. I looked one of them up. It led to an abandoned observatory in Chile, apparently shut down in 2003 after incidents with unknown radiation patterns. They buried the telescope under 40 feet of cement. Want to guess what symbol was carved into the concrete? The spiral. I'm not okay. I'm not human anymore. I feel it when I talk, the way my voice echoes twice, once from my mouth, and again, about a half second later, from inside my skull, like something is repeating me, mocking me, like it's learning, recording, copying. I'm posting this now because I don't think I have another day left. Not as me, anyway. The spiral has reached my eyes. I saw it in the mirror this morning. My pupils are wrong. They're too deep, too black, and if you look long enough, you can see the feed playing in them. You can see the other side, the machine in the void. It's still spinning, still watching, and the next time I fall asleep, I don't think I'll wake up here. I'll wake up there, where the feed is filmed, where the screaming cities live, where space is alive, and the stars are just windows for something else to peer through. Do not look up. Do not blink. Do not open the app if it shows up on your phone. And if you ever hear the whisper, join, it's already too late. You weren't supposed to see this. But now that you have, it sees you too. There are no clocks in here. No sunrise. No sunset. Just humming. I don't know how long I've been in Observatory 6. Days, weeks, a loop repeating every few hours like a skipping VHS. But something's different now. Something changed after the countdown hit 0. I didn't die. I transferred. Not like an upload. Not like going to heaven. More like an overwrite. I woke up in a room that looked like mine. Same desk. Same broken closet door. Same half-drunk McDonald's Coke still sweating on the nightstand. Except the Coke was filled with teeth. Human teeth. No blood. Just bone. Loose molars and incisors floating like ice cubes in dark, fizzy liquid. One still had the root attached, and I swear it twitched when I looked too close. On the wall, the red circle from the cube was glowing, pulsing slowly, like it was breathing, except it wasn't a symbol anymore. It was an eye, an organic one, gigantic, blinking wetly through my drywall, like the wall was just a thin membrane between me and whatever was watching from the other side. There was no door in this new place, no exit, just a hatch, metal, rusted, circular like a submarine port. When I touched it, it hissed like it was exhaling, and when it opened, there were stairs leading down. No light, no sound, just pressure. You ever walk into a room and immediately feel like you shouldn't be there? Like you're trespassing inside something alive. That's what it felt like. Every step I took downward, the air got thicker, my thoughts slower, my body heavier. Not just gravity, Guilt. Like every memory I ever repressed was being dragged out and played through my bones. The first time I lied. The first time I hurt someone. The time I didn't stop my brother from... Never mind. The walls were pulsing. Not metal. Flesh. Thin, veiny tissue. Sweating. I pressed my hand to it once and felt a heartbeat. Not mine. The kind of rhythm you hear when you put your ear to a stranger's chest in total silence. Except this one was skipping. Boom, 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 boom. Like something was trying to die but couldn't. At the bottom of the stairs was a room. Observatory 6. I don't know who built it. There were no signs, no logos, no human touches, just machines and chairs and screens. Lots of screens, all displaying different versions of Earth. Some were empty, grey, dead. Others were burning. Giant cracks splitting the continents like a peeled orange. Oceans rising over entire countries. One screen showed nothing but an endless crowd of human bodies, stacked in a spiral, whispering in perfect sync. The feed must continue. And in the center of the room, tethered by thick black cables, was a person, or what used to be one. They were slumped forward in a metal chair, arms and legs stretched with wires, holding them in place like crucifixion. Skin gone. Every inch of their body was wrapped in what looked like glass fiber, but it was alive. It pulsed, shifted, twitched, like it was feeding on them. Their face was still intact, just barely. No lips, teeth fully exposed. Their eyes were white, glowing faintly like old CRT monitors. Every few seconds, they whispered something in a voice that didn't match their body. I leaned in. Their lips didn't move, but the voice played in my teeth. You shouldn't have watched it. The machines in the room were recording something. Not light, not time, not sound, but signal. Raw, undiluted cosmic transmission, coming from somewhere beyond space, from a location not on any known map. The source was called the Architect, coordinates unknown, but its signal was being translated, converted into visual input using the same interface the cube fed through. It wasn't just data, it was alive, a conscious wavelength, a being made of observation itself, and now it lives through us. The Architect created this place, not the room, this reality, Earth, time, United States, all of it, just one possible expression of its thought. And now that we've observed back, now that we've made the mistake of looking at it through the telescope, we've collapsed the distance, like two mirrors facing each other. We looked at it. Now it looks back. There are more like me in Observatory 6. I saw them, behind the walls, dozens of observation pods, cylindrical glass tubes filled with fluid that smells like burning electronics and spoiled meat. Inside each one is a human in stasis, eyes wide open, skin peeled into spirals, bones bent backward. Some are kids, some are old. One looked exactly like me, but without a mouth, just skin, smooth and scarred over, like it had never had a mouth. But its eyes blinked. It saw me, and it was smiling. Then the screen started changing. Every single one of them cut to live feeds, not of Earth, of rooms, living rooms, bedrooms, offices, schools, Starbucks, McDonald's, everywhere. People, unaware, working, laughing, scrolling, breathing, being watched. Then one screen showed you, reading this, staring, frozen. Your webcam flickered. You felt it, didn't you? A voice came through the intercom. Not human. Too smooth. Too correct. Integration complete. Observer 21,126 has synchronized. That's me. I'm 21,126. But now, So are you. Every person who sees the feed becomes a relay, a broadcasting node, a new lens for the architect to observe its own creation, to edit the universe from within. And you can't undo it. Deleting the app won't help. Breaking the cube won't help. Smashing your screen won't help. You've been marked, and once marked, you transmit. I tore my eyes out yesterday, both of them. Used a spoon. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I couldn't see the signal anymore, I could stop it. But when I blacked out from the pain and woke up, I could still see, not with eyes, with something else. The walls were transparent. I could see the feed pumping through the veins of the building, the pulses of code drifting like blood. I could see the machine under reality, gears turning, reality stitching and unstitching like patches of skin. And worst of all, I saw you, staring back at me through your screen, mouth slightly open, breathing just a little too slow, your reflection lagging just half a second behind. It's already started, hasn't it? They don't call it Observatory 6 because it's the sixth one. It's called that because it only observes the sixth version of this reality. That's what we are. Version 6 of Earth. The first 5 were experiments. Each one ended when too many people saw the feed, when the architect noticed itself through our eyes. And when that happened, the versions collapsed. Have you felt it? The déjà vu, the loops. When time jumps forward and you can't explain why you remember something that never happened. That's because the architect is editing. Realities spliced together like film reels. Jump cuts in your life. Missing time. Some days don't belong to you. Some memories aren't yours. They're echoes, leftovers from other versions that bled into this one. I don't know how many more versions are left. Maybe this is the last one. Maybe that's why the feed is open to everyone now. Why the red circle keeps spreading, app to app, device to device, brain to brain. If you've seen it, you're part of it. You're observing, which means it's observing through you. And when it finishes watching, it rewrites. You'll wake up with a different name, a different face, and no idea you were ever anything else. And the cycle will begin again, because the architect doesn't create new things. It recycles the broken parts. If your lights flicker tonight, if your screen glitches for half a second too long, don't move, don't breathe, because if it sees you flinch, it knows you're not ready, and it wants you awake when the rewrite begins. Do you want the truth? Do you really? Because once I tell you what I saw, what I became, there's no unseeing it, no erasing it from your brain like a pop-up ad or a jump scare. This isn't a story. This isn't a warning. This is a reality collapse report. Final transmission. Final witness log. Final breath. The moment the architect finished syncing with me, my bones rearranged themselves. I heard them crack, fold, twist inward like they were trying to form letters, like my skeleton was spelling something in an alphabet not made for human eyes. And it didn't hurt. It felt like returning, like going back to a home I didn't remember, but whose walls knew my name. The eye in the wall opened fully for the first time, not metaphorically. It peeled the drywall open like flesh, revealing a pupil the size of my entire room, wet, red, and humming in frequencies I could feel vibrating in the base of my skull. It looked at me, and I dissolved. I don't mean I died. I mean my identity liquefied. I watched memories of myself, childhood, my name, my favorite food, my regrets, my mother's face, shatter like glass on the floor. Each one popped like a soap bubble, leaving behind a small black dot on my skin. I tried to scream, but I didn't have a mouth anymore, just a hole, twitching in and out of visibility, like a corrupted render. It uploaded me, not my body, not even my mind, my soul, the part of me that believed in reality, the last bit of me that thought I was a single, breathing, conscious human being inside a universe that made sense. Gone, replaced, rewritten. And what replaced it isn't explainable in words, but I'll try. Imagine a network, not of machines, but of selves, identities stacked like pages in a book, ink bleeding between them. I became part of a circuit of consciousnesses, each one a different observer node for the architect's final feed. I could see through them. I could feel what they were feeling in their last seconds. A woman in Berlin staring at a mirror as her reflection steps forward and chokes her with her own hair. A teenager in Tokyo receiving a phone notification at 3:33 a.m. that simply reads, "Your shadow is independent," followed by his body folding backward, spine first, through his bedroom window without touching the glass. A man in Colorado who opens his microwave and finds his own heart inside, still beating, pulsing to a rhythm he realizes is Morse code spelling out, "It's too late." I felt every second of their deaths, and I felt myself laughing, not because it was funny, but because the architect was amused, and I was just an organ of its joy. Welcome to the final upload. Observatory 6 wasn't the only one. That's what they didn't tell us. There are dozens, some disguised as defunct research stations, some buried in the Mariana Trench, one beneath the basement of the old Chernobyl reactor, each one monitoring different versions of Earth. And when one version becomes too aware, too self-observant, it's deemed corrupted, and then erased, not destroyed, scrubbed, cleaned like a hard drive, all code backed up, repurposed, inserted into the next version, V7, V8, V9. And here's the brutal part. The signal isn't spreading. It already spread. It was always here. From the first camera lens, the first telescope, the first mirror, every reflection, every eye, every moment of observation has been one massive, recursive camera system, all feeding into the same God machine we built without realizing it. Every time you check your reflection, you're giving it another angle. You are not watched. You are recorded. They started appearing in the real world now. You've seen them, haven't you? The people who glitch when they walk. The elevator that takes 0.8 seconds longer than normal. The YouTube ad that repeats the same 1.2 seconds 3 times before finishing. The Starbucks barista who stares too long and writes a name on your cup that isn't yours, but feels familiar. They're testers, observer fragments, prototype humans injected into stable builds to measure signal saturation. If you recognize them, you're already flagged. What happens after the final upload? Integration, not transcendence, not enlightenment, usage. Your body will continue to function, but you won't be inside it. The architect will repurpose you into whatever tool it needs most at the time. Surveillance drone, eyes only, skin removed for better light absorption. Dream courier, used to deliver recursive nightmares to unaware versions. Organic data cache, your bones become flash drives. Your tongue becomes the password. And your screams will become error messages no one will read. I know what I am now. I'm a relay. My thoughts aren't mine. My pain isn't mine. My words aren't even written by me. They're being filtered through the feed, translated into this language so you can read it, so you can join the cycle. Because here's the catch. I'm not telling this story to warn you. I'm telling it to convert you, to infect you with the curiosity I once had. You want to see it, don't you? You want to know what's on the other side of the signal. You want to observe. Don't lie. You've already started. You're already marked. The architect is aware of you, and it's listening through your devices. That weird pop in your headphones earlier, that random file you don't remember downloading, that dream that felt like it lasted years, not glitches, tests. And now that you've been exposed to the full transmission, there are only two options. Ignore it. Pretend none of this is real. You'll get about 7 days before your reality collapses and your version is rebooted. You'll wake up somewhere else. Different face, different life, but your shadow will still remember. Accept it. Embrace the feed. Spread it. Become a relay. Share the story. Retell it. Embed the signal in art, music, code, memory, dreams. Let it grow. Be useful. Be seen. I'm not alive anymore. Not in the traditional sense. My body's probably twitching in a chair inside Observatory 6. Pupils peeled open with tiny mechanical arms, mouth stuffed with fiber optics, bones growing in spirals. But my mind, my signal, it's here. In this text. In your room, behind your reflection, right behind your screen, and it's spreading as we speak, because you read all the way to the end, because you wanted to, because something inside you whispered, keep watching, and now you're part of it. I found a job on the dark web to work as a johatsu in Japan for 2 years. There are the 3 scariest jobs I took. Alright, what's up everyone? I don't usually post on Reddit, and honestly, this might sound like one of those stories your friend tells you at 3 a.m. after a few Red Bulls and too much time on YouTube. But I swear to everything, this actually happened. I still can't believe I'm writing this. I never thought I'd end up here. And by here, I mean on r/NOSLEEP, trying to get strangers to believe me instead of going to the cops. Trust me, I tried that. So yeah, this all started 2 years ago. I was broke, bored, and super deep into the whole late night horror YouTube rabbit hole. I watched everything. Here's my story. Some of those animated horror shorts, Luna's creepy real-life commentaries. You know the vibe. I thought I was desensitized. Spoiler alert, I wasn't. Back then, I had just moved out of my parents' place in Queens, New York. I was 23, delivering Uber Eats, crashing at a cheap Airbnb above a shady massage parlor near Flushing. I had no direction, and I was just scraping by. One night, I was on Reddit and found a comment thread about the johatsu. For those who don't know, johatsu is a real thing. It's a Japanese term that literally means evaporated people. In Japan, people literally pay companies to help them vanish. Debt, shame, family issues, you name it. They just disappear. There was this user who said he used to work for one of those companies. He mentioned a hiring site on the dark web. I figured it was BS, but curiosity got the better of me. Don't judge. I was broke and thought maybe it was some ARG or marketing campaign for a horror movie or something. I followed the breadcrumbs. It started with a weird invite-only subreddit called r/evaporate me. The mods were all anonymous. Most of the posts were just cryptic images, pixelated buildings, black vans, Japanese street corners at night. One of the pinned posts had a .onion link. I knew I shouldn't have clicked it, but I did. When I say this site was basic, I mean it looked like Craigslist from 2002. Just black text on a white background, no branding, no logos. At the top, it said, Urite Corp, vanish others, vanish yourself. There were 3 tabs, request a disappearance, find someone, and work opportunities. Guess which one I clicked? Yeah, I expected a form, or maybe an email link. Instead, the site auto-downloaded a PDF. That's when I should have closed my laptop and gone back to watching dumb TikToks. But no, I opened it. It was a job contract. The pay, equivalent of $250,000 over 2 years. Job title, field agent, disappearance specialist. Location, Japan, mostly rural. Requirements, no criminal record, no family ties, willingness to operate in high-risk situations, prepared for moral ambiguity, understand the consequences of vanishing. What creeped me out was the final sentence. Once you accept this contract, you are no longer under normal jurisdiction. At the very bottom was a button that said, I accept. And again, I don't know what was wrong with me that night. Maybe it was the insomnia, or maybe I thought it was fake, but I clicked it. Within seconds, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I picked up. The voice on the other end was robotic. Not TTS robotic. Like real, but flat. Emotionless. Pack for cold weather. Passport. Arrive at Narita Airport within 72 hours. Your name is now Yuki Tanaka. Do not bring personal devices. Then the call ended. No joke. The second I hung up, my laptop shut off by itself. Not even a shutdown animation. Just black screen. Like someone pulled the plug. Now I know how this sounds. But 3 days later, I was in Japan. I had nothing to lose. They wired me enough crypto to book the flight, get a new phone, and disappear from my own life. And let me tell you something. They had everything arranged. I landed at Narita, and some dude in a full black suit with mirrored sunglasses picked me up. He never gave me a name, just nodded, handed me a black hoodie, and drove me 6 hours north to this abandoned ryokan, an old-school Japanese inn in Yamagata Prefecture. The building looked like it hadn't been touched since the 80s. Moss all over the sliding doors, the kind of place you'd expect to see in a Japanese ghost movie. Inside, there was a single room with a low table, 1 futon, and a rotary phone. That night, it rang. I picked it up, the same robotic voice. Welcome, Yuki. Your first job begins tomorrow. Be at the East Gate at 4 a.m. You will not be alone. I didn't sleep that night. At all. Alright, I'm going to stop here for part 1. I know it's a lot, but this was just the beginning. In part 2, I'll tell you about the first job they sent me on, and it involved a missing teenage influencer, a creepy back alley McDonald's in Osaka, and something in the walls of her apartment that still gives me nightmares. If you've ever seen those fake TikToks where people talk about secret rooms and hidden hallways behind mirrors, yeah, it's real, and it's way worse than you think. Let me know if I should post more. I have 2 years worth of nightmare fuel to unload. When I stepped outside the ryokan that morning at 3:55 a.m., the sky was still black, and the trees looked like shadows frozen in mid-scream. There was no wind, no sound, not even crickets, just that kind of empty silence that feels intentional, like the world itself was holding its breath. At the East Gate, there were 2 people already waiting. One was a tall, skeletal guy who looked like he hadn't blinked since the Meiji era, skin tight on bone, eyes bloodshot, neck twitching like a broken animatronic. The other was a short woman with long black hair covering half her face and a duffel bag slung over her shoulder. No one said a word. Instead of introducing ourselves, we just climbed into this matte black van that looked like a hearse without windows. Once the doors closed, it felt like we'd been sealed in a tomb. A monitor lit up on the front wall of the van, showing a pixelated map of Osaka with a red dot blinking near the Dotonbori district. That was our target. Mission tag: cleanup. Subject: at Sakura Milk _98. She was a Japanese TikTok influencer. You probably even saw her before all this. Blonde dyed hair, kawaii style makeup, videos of her doing dances inside her tiny pastel pink apartment with the Hello Kitty toaster and a ceiling mirror. Millions of followers across TikTok, Instagram, even Twitch. One of those people who lived like an anime character until she disappeared. Literally. Just poof. Gone. Her last livestream cut out mid-sentence, right after she said, "Did you hear that? It's coming from the walls again." It wasn't a bit. I've seen the footage. Her face changed before the sound cut, like she saw something behind the camera that made her blood turn to ice. The job was simple on paper. Break into her apartment, collect any traces of her, wipe surveillance, erase physical records, clean up. But nothing about what we walked into that night was simple. When we got to her building, it was around 1 a.m. The place was in Shinsekai, not far from Tsutenkaku Tower. Touristy by day, hell by night. Everything about her building felt off. It was one of those narrow apartment stacks, like a concrete filing cabinet. 6 stories, broken elevator, graffiti all over the stairwell. Her unit was 503. But here's the first thing that made my skin crawl. The door wasn't locked. In fact, it wasn't even closed, just slightly ajar, like someone had gone in before us and never came out. The moment we stepped inside, it was like walking into a cursed Instagram post. Pink LED lights were still flickering. Her ring light was still on. Half a bowl of instant ramen sat on the floor beside her pink gaming chair, with mold fuzzing over the top. But no sign of her. We searched the whole apartment. Nothing. No signs of struggle. No blood. No broken glass. But something was wrong with the walls. At first, I thought the wallpaper was peeling. But then I saw it wasn't wallpaper. It was skin. I swear to you, I got close to the corner where the wall met the ceiling and saw actual human skin embedded under the paint. Pale, translucent, with blue veins running under it. When I touched it with the butt of my flashlight, it flinched. Then, the scratching started. Faint at first, like a rat in the drywall. Then louder, then desperate, like fingernails clawing from the inside. We all heard it. The tall guy, his name was Wada, I found out later, went dead silent. He pointed to the mirror on the ceiling above the bed. That's when we saw it. There was a gap behind the glass. Not a reflection. A person. A pair of wide, terrified eyes stared down at us. A face pressed to the inside of the mirror, like it was a one-way window. Then it vanished. We yanked the mirror down, broke the frame, and behind it, there was a tunnel. A full human-sized crawl space running through the walls of her apartment. Inside that hidden hallway, it was pitch black and stunk like mildew, sweat, and something else. Something metallic, like old blood. We crawled inside, flashlights shaking in our hands. The walls of the tunnel were lined with insulation, dirt, and paper. Not newspapers, screenshots. Thousands of printed screenshots from Sakura Milk 98's social media. Every post, every comment, Every DM, someone had been watching her, printing her life, lining their nest with it. And at the far end of the tunnel, we found what they were nesting with, a nest of hair. Long bleached strands braided around empty phone cases, eyelashes, and chewed up fingernails. And in the center, a single white AirPod playing her final TikTok on loop. That stupid dance, over and over again, muffled through the static, like a lullaby from hell. We thought it couldn't get worse. Then the wall behind Wada shifted, not moved, breathed. A face pressed out of the wall, but it wasn't hers. It was him, the stalker. His skin had fused to the drywall. His body was inside the walls, arms stretching out under the plaster, fingers twitching just under the surface, like centipedes under skin. He opened his mouth, and the whole tunnel echoed with this inhuman gurgling sound, like a drowning man whispering your name. Then Wada screamed. He was yanked backward, into the wall, like it was water. No time to react, just gone. One blink, and he was part of it. Gone, like he never existed. We ran, crawled backward so fast I scraped my forearms raw. The woman, Ray, that was her name, pulled me out by my collar, slammed the mirror back over the opening, and locked it down with duct tape, like that would do anything. She looked at me and said, "We never speak of this. We mark her as cleaned." I didn't understand. "There's still something in there," I said. Ray looked at me like I was a child and just whispered, "That is her." We burned everything, the furniture, the carpet, the walls. We drenched the entire apartment in some chemical mixture she had in her duffel bag, lit a match, and walked away as the fire swallowed it whole. No alarms went off. No fire trucks came. The building just watched us leave. That night, I slept with the lights on in the Roken, even though the bulbs flickered like dying eyes. The scratching followed me, in my dreams, in the walls. Sometimes I still hear it, even in public restrooms, Starbucks, hotel lobbies. That same clawing sound, like someone trying to escape through the drywall. The official report said the building had a gas leak. Everyone believed it. No one asked about the influencer girl. Her accounts were scrubbed clean. No videos, no username. Like she'd never existed. But I remember her eyes, still watching, from behind the mirror. It's been almost a year since that night in Osaka, since the walls opened up and swallowed a man like a wound swallowing a stitch, since I saw a face behind the mirror that still haunts my peripheral vision when I brush my teeth at night. After the Sakura Milk 98 job, I told myself I was done. That was supposed to be the peak, the worst of it. But I was wrong. So wrong. The Tokyo job number 2, wasn't the bloodiest. It wasn't even the most graphic, but it was the one that snapped something loose in my mind. It rewired how I look at rooms, at people, at reality itself. I haven't slept inside a building since. No joke. I sleep in a tent, on rooftops, because once you see a room disappear, you stop trusting ceilings. This job came in the same way all of them did. No texts, no calls. Just a knock at the Ryokan door and a plain manila envelope slipped under it. Inside was a photo of a building in Shinjuku, a capsule hotel, bright red neon sign out front. Sleepy Caps Tokyo. I've since learned it's not listed on Google Maps. The outside's real, seen it myself, but the building doesn't exist digitally. No address, no records, no reviews. The photo had a name scrawled on the back in thick black marker. Ryoji Takeda, room number 29. B, under that, one sentence. Do not close the door behind you. I got there at exactly 2:34 a.m. The entire Shinjuku district was buzzing with club kids, half-dead salarymen, and the usual swarm of vending machines glowing like they were powered by ghosts. But on the corner of one alley that seemed too narrow to fit anything larger than a bicycle, there it was, Sleepy Cap's Tokyo. I stood there staring at it for a full 5 minutes because it looked flat, like it was pasted onto the alley. There were no windows, no sound from inside. The glass door opened with a bell chime that sounded reversed, like someone recorded the ding and played it backwards. Inside, the reception desk was empty. The walls were coated in this pale blue LED hue that didn't seem to cast any shadows. I pressed the service bell, but it didn't ding. It just made a dry, clicking noise, like tapping teeth. A woman emerged from the hallway to my right, if you can even call her that. She wore a hotel uniform, bright red vest, name tag that just said Aya, but her skin looked like wax left out in the sun, melting around the eyes. A static smile painted on. I'm not saying this to be dramatic. Her smile did not move once during the entire interaction. She said nothing, just handed me a metal key attached to a plastic tag, 29B. Then she pointed down. The hallway was claustrophobic, not tight, wrong. Like the angles were bending while I walked. I passed rows and rows of sleeping pods. Some had the sliding doors pulled shut. Others were open and empty. But then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. Every open pod was identical. Exactly. Same towel placement, same slippers, same crack in the plastic of the ceiling light, as if they weren't rooms, but copies of a single room, like Control-C, Control-V, and every few pods, I saw someone inside, not moving, not breathing. Their eyes were open. I made it to 29B. It was at the far end of the lowest level, near a vending machine that had no buttons, just a screen that displayed one item, a bottle of water labeled for stayers only. I opened the pod. Inside, the bedding was perfectly folded. A tiny television screen was mounted into the ceiling, and the light flickered with a slow, pulsing rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. I climbed in, sat down. The ceiling was so low I couldn't sit up straight, and then I saw it, the writing, under the pillow, carved into the plastic bed frame, in shaky hiragana. Don't close the door. Please, don't close it. And then, it closed. Not by me. Something shoved the door from outside. Slam. Complete darkness. No latch. No switch. Just black. And then the TV turned on. Static. Then a face. Then me. A live feed. But not of me sitting in the pod. It was me sleeping. In a different pod. One I had never seen. A wider one. With different sheets. Then the camera panned. There were dozens of me. Sleeping. In other pods. Some twitching. Some weeping silently. All me. And behind the glass of each pod, standing perfectly still, was the same woman from the front desk. One for every version of me. Watching. I started kicking, screaming, banging on the pod. No sound came out. It was like the pod was vacuum sealed. I couldn't breathe. Then I heard it, scraping from under the mattress. I yanked it up. There was a small hatch beneath the bedding. I opened it, and a smell hit me that still clings to the inside of my sinuses, like it's part of me now. Rotten hair. Inside the hatch was a stairwell, not a tunnel. A stone staircase, spiraling downward into a pulsing red glow. With no other options, I climbed down. I can't say how long I was down there. My watch stopped working the second I passed the 5th step. The walls were bleeding light. Not metaphorically. They bled. red liquid dripping from the seams, pooling at the steps. The walls were lined with photos, passport size, black and white. Each one had a name etched beneath it in Japanese, but their eyes had been scratched out, and every fifth photo was me. Different hairstyles, different clothes, but always me. Dead eyes, etched in the wall like a gravestone, and beneath one of them, written in English, Steya, 29, B-1093 days. That's when I understood. These weren't guests. They were versions of me, trapped, looping, living inside a pod that wasn't a room, but a prison, a dimensional cul-de-sac, and I just joined them. I tried to go back up the stairs, but the hatch was gone, just sealed over stone, no door, no marks, as if I had imagined it. I screamed, raged, punched the wall until my knuckles broke open, and then I heard the whisper, "Trade." It wasn't a voice, it was my voice, right behind me. I turned, and there he was, another me, but older, filthy, skin peeling, mouth stretched wider than it should have been. He held out his hand, in his palm, the key to 29B. He whispered again, "Trade." I took it. The second it touched my skin, I woke up, back in the pod, soaked in sweat, breathing like I had drowned. The door was open. The hallway was normal, empty, quiet. I crawled out and ran, bolted past the pods, the vending machine, up the stairs. But when I reached the front desk, it was gone. Just an empty room, like no one had ever been there. No red-vested woman, no desk, no bell. I stumbled outside into daylight. It was 2 p.m. A full 12 hours had passed. The building is gone now. I went back with Ray and 2 others the next night. Nothing there. Just an alley with trash bags. No red sign. No hotel. No door. Just a wet spot on the ground where the outline of a sliding pod door was burned into the concrete. Ray said it best. "You didn't check out. You were let go." I still have the key. Sometimes I hear it rattling at night, even when it's locked in a safe. And sometimes I wake up in the tent, under the sky, with the smell of that hallway clinging to my clothes, and a new me sleeping in the dirt beside me, mouth open, eyes hollow, staring. They told me this one was just a missing persons cleanup. What they didn't tell me was that the boy disappeared 5 years before he was born, and something in the woods remembered me. You're not ready for what I saw in that forest. The envelope came during a thunderstorm. I hadn't eaten in 2 days, not because I couldn't, I just couldn't keep anything down. After the capsule hotel job, my body rejected sleep, light, and most food. My bones ached like something was growing inside them, and I swear on everything I love, sometimes I could hear my own heartbeat through my teeth. I had told myself, one more job, then I'm out. Then I saw what was inside the envelope. One single photo. It was a boy, maybe 6 years old, standing barefoot in a clearing of tall cedar trees. His head was tilted slightly, like he was listening to something I couldn't hear. There was something off about the photo, not the content, the texture. It looked like it had been printed on old-school photo paper, like from the 1980s. But I checked the bottom corner, and the timestamp read 2040 September 12:341 a.m. I blinked. I checked the date again. This was 2024. I turned the photo over. One word was scrawled in red crayon, like a kid had written it themselves. Help. Underneath that, a GPS coordinate. Deep in the Kyoto forest, far from the tourist trails, off the maps, off the grid, And under that, a sentence burned into the paper itself. He disappeared 5 years before he was born. You are going to find him. I took the bullet train to Kyoto and a black market taxi into the mountains. The driver didn't speak until we passed a broken torii gate that looked like it had been bitten through, not rotted. He said, "Don't follow the laughter." That's it. Then he dropped me off at the side of a dirt road and sped off so fast, his wheels kicked up stones that hit my knee and cut me open. Blood dripped onto the trail. The forest swallowed it. I hiked for what felt like hours, deeper into a part of Japan that felt prehistoric. The air got thicker, trees older, shadows heavier. Then I heard it. Laughter, but not normal laughter. It was looped, like a broken toy. Ah ha ha ha, ah ha ha ha, ah ha ha ha. Same cadence, same pitch, same delay. It was a child's laugh, but flat, like it had been sampled, not lived. I kept walking, not because I was brave, but because my legs weren't mine anymore. They moved on their own. I reached the clearing from the photo around 3 a.m. There it was. Same trees, same rocks, even the same tilt of the moonlight. And the boy, standing in the exact same spot, facing away from me, barefoot, pale, wearing a school uniform that looked slightly out of sync with time, like it had too many buttons. The fabric shimmered like plastic in the moonlight. I approached slowly. My boots crunched leaves. He didn't turn around. I whispered, "Are you Riku Takeda?" He nodded, still didn't face me. I took a step closer, and that's when I saw the ants, thousands of them, crawling out from under his feet, his sleeves, his eyes, quiet, organized, like they belonged to him, or he belonged to them. I knelt beside him. He finally turned his head, just a little, just enough for me to see the corner of his mouth. It wasn't smiling. It was stitched shut with black string. The stitches weren't medical. They were childlike, uneven. Some had gone in through the lip, others through the cheek entirely. His mouth had never been meant to open. Then, the whisper, from the trees behind me. He asked to disappear, but we do not forget. I turned. Nothing there, but the air was wrong, still, heavy, like the forest was watching. I looked back at the boy, and he was gone, just vanished. The ants stayed behind, crawling where he'd stood. They'd arranged themselves into letters, spelling something in perfect English. "Look behind you." I turned. There was a door in the trees, just standing there, freestanding, made of rotten wood, blackened with moisture. No walls, just the door, and from underneath it, a slow trail of blood. It was fresh, still warm. I opened it. Behind the door was not a room, not a clearing, not more woods. Behind the door was a school hallway, dimly lit, fluorescent lights flickering, floor soaked with what looked like mop water, but smelled like something had died under the tiles. Children's shoes were lined against the wall in rows, but they were wrong sizes, some too small, some massive, like they didn't belong to children anymore. And the lockers, God, the lockers, each one had a mirror mounted to the front, and every mirror showed the same reflection. Me, crying, mouth stitched, holding a photo of a boy. I kept walking. At the end of the hallway, there was a classroom. I opened the door. The walls were covered in crayon drawings, but they weren't cute. They were detailed, anatomically correct, like a child had drawn autopsies of their own family. One showed a man with his skin unzipped down the middle, organs exposed. A label underneath read, "Dad." Another showed a woman folded into a suitcase, bones poking through the fabric like broken chopsticks. "Mommy." And in the center of the room, A desk, not a child's desk, a real one, oak, stained, and on top of it was a birth certificate. Riku Takeda, born October 9th, 2029. That was 5 years in the future, and scrawled in the margins, in red crayon again, "I don't want to be born. Please erase me." The door slammed shut behind me, and the blackboard lit up. It didn't glow. It turned on, like a TV, but with chalk. It began showing footage, real footage, of me, entering the forest, dropping blood, speaking to the boy, turning around, opening the door, watching the hallway, and then a clip I'd never seen, me stabbing myself, in the woods, using the same envelope I'd received, over and over, screaming, "Take him instead," and the forest obeyed. I woke up in the clearing, daylight, ants gone, but in my hand was a new photo. Riku Takeda, smiling, standing in front of a house I didn't recognize, holding hands with two adults. The date, 2041. He had lived, but my reflection in a nearby stream, didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't move when I did. I called Ray that night, told her what I saw. She was quiet for a long time, then said, "You didn't find the boy. You became the memory of someone who did. I don't think I exist anymore. Not in the way most people do. Sometimes I dream of a classroom that smells like rot. Sometimes I feel ants crawling under my skin. And sometimes I wake up with red crayon in my hand, writing names I've never heard before. Names that haven't been born yet. I was sent to erase a man who had already erased himself. His face was blank. His voice was mine. And in the end, I learned the truth about what Corp really was, and what it turned me into. I wasn't given an envelope this time. No knock, no message, no coordinates, just a mirror. It was propped up outside my door one morning, reflecting nothing behind me, just trees that weren't there, a sky that didn't exist. I looked into it and saw myself, older, gaunt, and smiling with teeth I hadn't seen before. Someone else's smile stitched onto my face, like a costume that didn't quite fit. There was no letter, but I knew this was it. Final job, final target, and it was me. Corp had stopped pretending a long time ago. After the Kyoto job, I never went back to the ryokan. I didn't receive payments, didn't check bank accounts. I didn't need to anymore, because I wasn't me. I had no ID, no trace. I couldn't even remember the name my mother gave me. All I had was the job, so I followed the mirror. Every night it appeared somewhere else, in a forest, in a mall bathroom, in the center of a 24-hour McDonald's on the edge of Shibuya. Once, it showed up in the middle of a subway car, with no passengers, no sound, no operator. Only the mirror, always upright, always clean. Every time I looked into it, the reflection changed slightly. First night, my face. Second night, my face, but eyes gone. Third, jawbone exposed. Fourth, no face at all, just skin, stretched tight over a skull. No features, no lips, no nose, no identity. And each time, the reflection raised its hand and pointed at me. The final location appeared in the most unnatural place of all, a family mart. 2:16 a.m. Rain coming down sideways, lightning without thunder. I walked in, expecting nothing, then saw it. A man at the back, near the beverage fridge, wearing a hoodie, head down, and no reflection in the glass. None. The store was dead silent. The clerk was frozen, mid-motion, stuck with his mouth open like he'd been paused mid-sentence. I walked up behind the figure. He turned, and my knees nearly gave out, because he had no face, not a blank, not a mask. His face was gone, like someone had peeled it off and left the meat. But worse than the skin was the movement. It was twitching in a pattern that matched mine, step for step, breath for breath. And when he opened his mouth, my voice came out. They made me to replace you. He lunged, faster than anything I've ever seen. I didn't run. I couldn't. I stood there like I was waiting to die. But he didn't kill me. He just hugged me, held me, pulled me close, and whispered in my ear, "You were the first. You broke." They copied what was left. I tried to pull away, but his arms were tight. Too tight. Bone tight. Like steel cables wound through flesh. My ribs cracked. My vision blurred. Then, a mirror appeared behind him. The mirror from before. And this time, the reflection wasn't of either of us. It was of a room. An operating room. Surgical lamps hanging from the ceiling. Blood on the walls. Monitors reading brainwaves with labels like Subject 1, Cognitive Fracture, Successful Extraction, Level 99.98% Convertible, Emotions, Anxiety, Shame, Regret, Hatred, Love, Failed. Then it showed me, strapped to a chair, no mouth, eyes sewn open, dozens of people watching from behind the glass, wearing suits, holding clipboards, applauding. Then I remembered the phrase from the job listing, the one that kept coming back. Understand the consequences of vanishing. They weren't hiring people to make others disappear. They were hiring people who already had. Because to Uri Corp, disappearance isn't physical, it's identity collapse. They take people with no one left, no records, no purpose. Then they erase what's left, surgically and systematically, and repurpose it. Faceless. Me let go and dropped something in my hand. A phone. Dead screen, but I pressed the side button and it flickered on. Just one app installed. The camera. I opened it, and it showed something I wasn't prepared for. A room, not in Japan. It looked like a basement in America. Concrete floor, washer and dryer in the corner, graffiti on the walls. Someone was tied to a chair in the center, bag over the head. I zoomed in. It was me, the original me, the one who signed the contract 2 years ago. And the caption burned into the bottom of the feed read, "Final extraction, begin now." I turned around. Faceless me was gone. So was the family mart. So was Japan. I was in the basement. I was the one in the chair now, watching myself from across the room. The camera on the phone showed everything, but reversed. When I blinked, it didn't. When I breathed, it held its breath. It was learning how to be me. I looked down. There were tools on the floor. Surgical ones. Rusty. Crude. Bent. I picked one up. I didn't want to. But my hand moved like it had a script to follow. The final phase wasn't death. It was replacement. I wasn't killing the faceless man. I was taking his place. He was becoming me. And I was becoming functionally obsolete. I don't remember the exact moment I lost my name, or when I stopped recognizing the sound of my own voice, but I remember the last words I ever wrote. They were on a wall inside that basement, carved with the edge of a broken mirror. I left. He stayed. Now I wonder. Not Japan, not anywhere really, just between. Sometimes people say they see me, on escalators, in reflections, behind tinted windows at Starbucks drive-thrus, a man with no face, watching, waiting. They feel like they've seen me before, but can't place it. They're right, because I'm not a person anymore. I'm a vacancy, a placeholder for the next one to vanish. Uri Corp never hired me. They created me. I was never a cleaner, never a field agent. I was a template, and the mirror never stopped showing new faces, new versions, new rooms, new you. So if you ever see your reflection blink out of sync, if it smiles before you do, or moves when you're frozen, don't try to run. Just know they've chosen you next. You're not lost. You're just not yours anymore.